Hello, welcome to Let's Talk About It. I hope you guys are having a good start to your week or end of your week, wherever you're at listening. Today, I'm back with lovely co-host, the Kitt Bender.
That's the first time a mouth horn has made an appearance on this podcast, I think. So
that was perfect, though.
That's good.
You're great with your mouth.
My own
because you're a musician.
Yeah.
Yes. Someone actually left a review, and it was great. It was a very wonderful review, and in it, they were like, Taylor and Kitt sound more like friends than co-hosts. Love you guys. That's because we are friends.
We're actually more friends than we are co-hosts, especially because both of us in the last few months have been kind of traveling all over the place. So barely,
Yeah. We both, you were in Ireland.
I was in Ireland.
And then I was all over. Everywhere. And then now we're both back in Seattle, thankfully, because I missed you so much.
I missed you too.
And it made me so sad to be so far away.
And then we got back and it was sunny for a few days, but now that we're here in front of microphones, it's just gray.
Yeah.
In the way that Seattle is kind of supposed to be in October.
Yeah, like what people think of Seattle being, it is that.
It just became that today.
Yeah, but like I think it takes a special kind of a person. Like we were both sitting here like, wow, it is a beautiful day. Just looking at the gray and like looking at like how muted the colors are. We're like, it's so beautiful.
When the sun doesn't make everything pop, there's this certain, we were like waxing poetic about how gray and dreary it is, which means we are a little bit crazy.
Yeah. We're a little weird, but you know, it takes a special kind of person to like live in Seattle and appreciate the winters.
The kind of a delusion that you have to craft in order to live here as many years as we intend to live here.
Yes. And a few days ago, we were out on like a little mini hike because from traveling so much, you know, you're like stuck in these little airplanes and you're in uncomfortable positions. And I was like, I need to get out. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, like readjusting to normal life after being like living out of suitcases and traveling everywhere for a month straight was very exhausting. And like I came back like very overwhelmed. And you know, our topic for today, we're going to talk about expectations and how to manage that and how to like communicate your needs. But I think another piece to maybe kind of like wrap into today's episode is about like the heaviness like of emotion that you feel after a trip, especially one that like is very emotional.
Yeah.
And I think we both have had like some emotional moments being back. And so I was just like, I'm doing all these things that I need to do, but like, I'm just feeling so overwhelmed and exhausted. And I was like, we need to like go outside. It was a beautiful day. It was like gorgeous. Sunny. And I was like, can we go to Discovery Park and like go for like a mini hike and just like go walk? Cause I need to get out. I need to like do something.
It was a different kind of beautiful than it is today. But yeah, transitions are funny, especially after going from the kind of place your mind has to be when you're traveling and like you said, living in a suitcase and experiencing new things and meeting new people and creating all these different kind of levels of relationships. And then you come back to not exactly where you were, but the same place you were, but in a different mental and emotional space. And it does take a minute.
It does. And
to get all those grooves back going.
Totally. And we talked a little bit about that in last week's episode with Olivia, and we'll talk about it again in probably like the next 2 episodes. The guests that are going to be on, we're also going to kind of talk about travel a little bit there too. So a little bit of a travel theme here. And also I want to make a quick correction to last week's episode. When I was talking with Olivia, we were talking about I think we were talking about zinc to help with depression. And I was wrong on that. As I was in PCC yesterday getting vitamins, I saw niacin and I realized, shit, it was niacin, not zinc, that Bill, the guy who started AA, was using to help with his depression. So it's high levels of niacin, not zinc, that have been used to like homeopathically treat depression. Niacin, not zinc.
That's a good thing to know.
Yes. And I thought about it as I was in the aisle. I was like, oh my God. And like, I was just like flooded with guilt that like, oh my God, I just like, not that I'm like prescribing that, not that I'm saying that's something anyone should do, but I was like, oh, I shared false information. But I did say, I was tentative about it. I was like, I think he was saying, I think.
Well, being able to do an on the record correction.
Yes,
I think
on the record.
That's journalistic integrity. So I think we're
Yes.
safe. We're safe. All newspapers do it. Say something wrong. So I'm not going to judge you too harshly, but I'm going to be looking up all the references that you make on this episode just to make sure you're not leading people astray. Really
yes. Don't want to do that. Please fact check me. Feel free to fact check me, guys. But yeah, so we went on this hike. It was a little mini hike, and it was beautiful. And actually, I think I enjoy sharing this part. There's like paths that are like, designed for you to like go on. And then there are other ones that are kind of like, you can, but people don't. And there's like that whole...
Or maybe shouldn't.
Or maybe
like there's
shouldn't.
An implied... not for general wanderings.
Yeah. But, wandering can be great to do. And so we went along these pathways that maybe we weren't supposed to, but we're still very safe. Mm-hmm. And they were great. And we found these like little apple trees and we're like foraging apples. And the other one, we like came across this cute little pond and came up with a great caption for a photo to contemplate.
Contemplate. Yeah. I thought ponder was better, but contemplate just stuck.
I mean, I like ponder as well, but like that's so obvious.
Okay.
Like,
right.
oh, I'm going to ponder. But it still is a very great pun.
Pontificate? No, that's to like speak and orate.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what you'd be doing in that photo.
Anyway, it was a really cool pond with this very clear level of algae just floating on the top and the ducks. It was really quite nice.
Yes. And so we
was
were
that
just
a good
like,
enough picture to paint for everyone?
It was beautiful. But like as we were going down these trails, and these paths, I was just like, oh, sometimes like when you go down the trail less traveled, you find things that like really speak to you that you wouldn't think you were going to find. And I think it's like a beautiful thing to be open to that. And I think that's something like the same kind of mindset that I had while traveling.
Well, because we were on this like really big main path. Mm-hmm. And you were like, we got to get to the side paths. And so we just diverted off, not looking at directions really, because why would you do that?
Yeah.
We diverted off and stumbled across these two ponds really, and then looped all the way back almost exactly to where we started when we were like, and so we just needed to stay on that one a little further, and we got off onto the real woods and the real path to the ocean where we were going.
Yeah. But the most fun part was when we just like went off and explored.
Yeah,
I loved it. And while we were doing all this, we were kind of like catching up and got on the topic. And this was something I wanted to do an episode on before you had opened up and shared this. And then after it became part of our conversation, I was like, okay, this has came up several times.
Yeah.
This has got to be an episode. So we're going to talk about expectations. Expectations.
And the communication around such things.
Yes. And I want to start this off by talking about birthday expectations. So,
because that's where this whole thing started with it, right? Birthday expectations. Mm-hmm.
I called it birthday brain. When I was talking to my girlfriend, I was like, I think you have birthday brain right now. So, birthday brain, birthday expectations.
So what are your expectations for when is appropriate to give a birthday wish to someone, either via text or via social media? And then what are your expectations for what you like to receive?
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I think Facebook, like we were talking about on the hike, created this whole other thing around birthdays that like they are... that everyone's going to know it's your birthday. Right. And that you're going to get all these messages from all these people and everyone's going to like tag you in these photos and do all this stuff. And this kind of unrealistic in like everyday life. So for me, unless I explicitly tell someone it's my birthday or like tomorrow's my birthday or my birthday's on Friday, I really don't expect anything from them. Now where we get into even like trickier waters is dating and birthdays. But
let's not worry about that for now. Let's just worry about that for friends for now.
In terms of friends, like, I feel like you have to practice forgiveness because your expectation, like, I think everyone has this general expectation on your birthday to be showered with love, to be the center of attention, that you're going to know that every person in your life cares about you so much and it's going to be such a special, special day. And I kind of think that's bullshit.
Well, isn't there a part of the human brain that wants that anyway? Like a bride, her day has to be perfect, and the mothers have the Mother's Day, and fathers have the Father's Day, and we think on our birthday, this is our one day of the year where everything can or should be about me. Yep. But then there's also a certain level, layer of downplaying that, right? Or like you don't really want to tell someone. It's Valentine's Day every day. Don't do anything for me on Valentine's Day. No, you still got to do something for Valentine's Day, even when they say you don't. So even the friends that are like, I don't really mind. Don't do anything for me. There's still a buried expectation.
Yes.
And like you said, it was heightened because Facebook came along and every time you logged in, and for a while when everyone was using Facebook, the first thing that would pop up for a little while, enough to get it into our brains, was here are all the birthdays today. Wish them a happy birthday.
Yep.
But it's a weird social expectation. So what about you personally? What do you expect?
I mean, personally, from friends, like, it's fine if I get a text. It's fine if, like, I'm thinking it's my most recent birthday. I was recently single. My birthday's July 10th. I was recently single, was somewhat talking to someone, but not like just like flirty stuff. And so nothing serious, obviously. And I mean, all I got was like a text, and I think I got
from
a call.
This person?
Yeah. Okay. But like from my friends, we like when I scheduled like a dinner and invited whoever could come, and was really happy about the people that were able to make it. And then, oh God, some weird shit happened on my birthday this year, actually. We went out on the boat. Oh, that was the boat. Because the dinner was the day before your actual birthday, right? Yeah. And then we went out on the boat. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, some weird things happened. But
is there anyone that like you would have maybe be expecting a text message from that you would have been really sad if you didn't get a message from? Like if you got all the way through the day.
I mean, honestly, I still would have really appreciated a text from my ex, but I also, the place that we were at, I wouldn't have expected it.
Yeah, that was not a place you should have expected that. Anyone else?
No. Okay. The guy that I was like kind of vibing was my maintenance man.
True story. This is actually a true story.
True story. My maintenance man, he's really great. Man. We're friends now. If you want to check out his band is great. The Good Husbands. And he's super attractive. And yeah, so I was like flirty with him. And yeah, I still didn't expect anything from him because I was like, we're just friends. But yeah.
So have you had a situation where someone expected a birthday wish from you and you didn't give it and it backfired?
Kind of recently. And that's where it was like, I recently had this birthday experience with someone else. A girlfriend of mine had a birthday experience with someone else. And then you told me this other story. Yeah. So someone that like is very, very, very dear to my heart. I still don't know when his birthday is because I always think he's a Sagittarius because everyone I usually date is a Sagittarius. But turns out he's a Libra. Okay. And yeah, it was funny. I texted him because he was in my dream. And so I texted him and was like, hey, like you just came up in my dream. Like, how are you? And he was like, oh, like I'm really good. How are you? And I was like, oh, I'm good. Like just getting home. And that was like the end of the conversation. And then the next day he texted me and was like, yesterday was my birthday. And I was like, ooh,
So like the universe was giving you even a little nudge and being like,
yeah,
he enters your mind, you send him a text, but you just missed
Yep.
the birthday bit.
Yep. And I felt so bad. But we had a call and just like caught up and talked it through and everything. And, but yeah, there was definitely like, I could sense from him that there was this like expectation that like it was his birthday. And I was like, I don't even know what the date is. Like I just got back. Like it's October. What? I didn't even know it was October. But
so why do you think it triggered him? Or like, why do you think that is a trigger? Like what?
Well, because everyone wants to feel special on their birthday.
Yeah.
And especially from someone that you believe, and that does, care a lot about you.
Right. It carries a different kind of weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that very similar thing happened to me. Mm-hmm. Where I had dinner with a friend of mine. This ended your
friendship though. To some extent. To
some extent. So I had dinner with a friend of mine recently that last year we were really close and we hung out all the time. But then she started dating someone. And for whatever reason, it just became a thing where it was difficult for her to date him and be friends with me.
Yeah.
Part of that is just, being close friends with a straight man is sometimes hard for another guy to
Platonic, heterosexual, male-female friendships can be complicated and cause other people to feel very insecure.
They can. And apparently it did in this situation, which I didn't really care about. Like nothing was a big deal to me. But then like in the middle of this kind of catch up dinner, because I haven't really seen her since January, and we get dinner. She's like, do you want to know why we didn't talk? I'm like, wait, there was a thing? Just got all dramatic all of a sudden. And I'm like, well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I kind of like grabbed a thing of popcorn. I was eating tacos at the time, but I was just like, this is going to be entertaining. Like, wow.
You're like, wow, what went down that I had no clue about?
It was literally a whole lot of things happened that I had no idea happened. Yeah. And she goes, this is probably petty, but it was, it was kind of the tip of the spear of a lot of other things that were happening in our relationship. And she goes, you didn't text me on my birthday. And I was like, okay,
which also though, I want to like acknowledge that like, that's awesome that she was able to communicate like how that hurt her.
Yeah.
But also like expectations, assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she gave me this. I thought we were really close. We were spending a lot of time together, and like we had been really open with each other about a lot of things. And then I'm on vacation in Mexico with this other guy, and I'm she was literally like checking her phone to see if I had texted her. Like it had built up to that level of expectation of this is going to kind of figure out whether he wants to still really be my friend or whether he's just going to whether I just need to push him away and stay with this guy. Like it became that. Does that make sense?
That almost sounds more like not treating you like a friend though. Like that feels like on a different level of like.
Yes. It was on a different level, and that's what she realized, and it caused a big fight with him. And then, so that was the
Oh my God, I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it got all the way to that level or if it just made her realize that there's a part of her brain that thought, well, maybe it is turning into this level, and which I don't.
That maybe we're moving past just being friends, and maybe he's like interested in me, so it would mean even more if he remembered my birthday.
Right. Or maybe that's why he doesn't like this guy that I'm actually seeing. And I was like, no, it's actually because he's treating you like shit. And I don't have a very high tolerance for people that treat my friends like shit.
Mm-hmm. This is a true fact.
True fact. Yeah. You see me just shut down and be like, okay, if you want to.
Yes.
So I just started really thinking, I'm like, look, I don't text anyone like on there, like really that's not an expectation I have on myself. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like then that echoed a number of situations that you had where people were using a birthday as a way to
gauge like how important I am to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's birthday brain.
So that leads to what?
Well, I think first I want to ask like, how is someone supposed to know? Like, how are you supposed to know in this situation that it was her birthday? Because she had loosely referenced it at the beginning of the month or like that week or...
Yeah, could have been. I don't even really know. Like, we were barely talking at the time, and so we would have had to... She probably said, I'm going to Mexico for my birthday.
Yeah.
And then I would have had to go on Facebook to find the exact day. But
see, so this is the thing that I like to say with expectations is that you can't you can't expect someone to know unless you tell them. So like for me, unless I specifically tell that person my birthday is on Friday, I don't expect anything from them. And that's also where it was like, you know, the guy that his recent birthday it was like, I've known him for several years. So like maybe I should have known, but I had travel brain. And you know, was going through like all kinds of, packages and stuff and just trying to get like reassituated to being home. And one of the things I got that I actually want to share about, is this package from Les Mystere, which are like my favorite bras. And if you're like me, you know how hard it can be to find the perfect bra that looks good, feels comfortable, and most importantly, fits great. And I recently stumbled across Les Mystere and have just been loving using it. So I ordered a bunch, and the design is the most beautiful lingerie that looks so stylish and actually feels amazing. You don't have to sacrifice sexy for fit. You can actually have both. So 50 of you guys get a free Les Mystere cosmetic bag with their purchase. Go to lesmystere.com/gift, add the bag to your cart, add your other purchases, and then use promo code Taylor to knock the price of the bag to $0. That's LEMYSTERE.com/gift and promo code Taylor. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I have, but anyway, you know, I had gotten back home and was just kind of like, how was I supposed to remember that, you know?
Right.
And had he communicated, like, when I had texted him literally that day and been like, it's going good, today's my birthday, then obviously I would have been like, oh my God, happy birthday. Yeah, I totally knew that.
yeah, but then he would feel like, oh, if I had to tell her, then it didn't, you know.
Yeah, but I think, so a situation that my girlfriend had recently had, you know, I want to get a little into like dating expectation and birthday. And, you know, when someone does know it's your birthday, then what kind of expectation do you have about how they're going to make you feel? And in this particular instance, it was just a text message. It was just a, you know, happy birthday text message, but it was said in like a cute, quirky, funny way.
So the friend did get a birthday message.
Yes. Because it was she did a very good job of communicating to him, it's going to be my birthday.
Yeah.
This day is going to be my birthday. My birthday's in 2 days. My birthday's tomorrow. So it was very clear that it was about to be her birthday.
Now, were there any expectations set for what she wanted on her? Because didn't he, like, what did he say about that? Did he say, oh, I'll... He
communicated that he's not very good at that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so this is where I think like communicating your expectation and asking for what you want becomes super important, because you really cannot like expect someone to know what it is that you want without communicating it. I just feel like that's kind of, it can really put you in a sticky situation if you are projecting things out onto someone and like having this expectation of them without giving them any kind of like guidelines of what it is that you're looking for, because you're setting yourself up to be disappointed.
Does it feel though that like we give guidelines without knowing it? Like we sometimes think that we're communicating really clearly what it is that we want. And then that when that's let down, we have to say, wait, I thought I did that.
Yes. And I think that's often because we're trying to beat around the bush with it. Mm-hmm. Like we're trying to subtly be like, oh yeah, like it's going to be my birthday. But you're not like actually asking for what you want.
Maybe a pony would be nice. Just
Yeah. Yeah. Like to explicitly say like, yeah, it's going to be my birthday and I would love to like feel really special, like because of you. Like I would love for you to be someone on my birthday that makes me feel really special. And then to have that sort of conversation of like, well, how could I make you feel special? Like, in what ways would you feel special? You know, like, would it feel special if I sent you some flowers, or like, you know, especially like if you're in like the early stages of dating someone. But, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I think oftentimes people are kind of like, well, I shouldn't even have to communicate that. Like, you should know. And that's an ego thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you got to take that down.
There is, I mean, what if I play devil's advocate a little bit and push the dial all the way the other way? Is there a way that a person can go into a birthday and not have any expectation?
You're talking about yourself.
Well, yes, but also...
And why do you have no expectations on your birthday, Kitt?
Are we getting into this? Are we getting into my birthday?
We're going to get into your birthday. We are. Because I guarantee you're not the only one with your birthday.
Okay. So this is my birthday situation, and why it's put me in a place where I feel like I can't expect anything, or shouldn't expect anything, I guess is the
Also
better
kind of
way.
been conditioned to not expect anything.
Yes. So my birthday is on Christmas Day.
Holla if you got a Christmas birthday.
Holla, holla. Yeah, please do. I mean, we need to start a little club.
There should be a little club for you guys.
I mean, so growing up, I didn't, there really wasn't space for me to have any expectation because there was 6 kids in my family.
Yeah.
And all extras all the time. And it's not trying to get, and I'm one of the oldest, so trying to get all the kids happy with all the stuff is just difficult.
Yeah. And everyone's focused on the
anyway,
fact that it's Christmas.
That it's Christmas. And so everyone would like to say, oh, happy birthday / Merry Christmas. So they often remember my birthday more than they would other people's.
Yes.
But that was literally as far as most anyone would ever take it. And if they did get me a Christmas present, it was happy birthday / Merry Christmas. It was always this included
bundled
thing. And it was never anything special. And so I learned, I don't, for better or for worse, to just not expect anything. So I'm not disappointed. But it also means I just don't really care at all. It's just like I can't really experience any of the joy of it.
And that's where, like, on the hike, I was kind of like, well, Kitt, you do care. And, like, how do you then, you just have to communicate that. Like, you can't just not, hold up.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that you can't expect anything, but I do think that you should take a second to recognize that there are things that you want. And they may not be what you are expecting from someone or assuming, but perhaps a standard of something that you want that I think is totally okay to ask for. Like, it's reasonable for you to ask for some special lovin's on your birthday, knowing that your birthday is also Christmas. That you want to feel extra cared for on that day. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, but I don't think I know.
Like, to just be like, oh, I don't care. I don't expect anything. No one's going to do anything. So let's not make a thing out of it. And it's just nothing. That's like, that's not what you want.
So let me give you an example of a place where I have a very specific place where maybe I could communicate this, but I also just don't. And it's regarding food. If I'm at my parents' house,
Yes.
as most of you know, I'm a vegetarian, and they've known I've been a vegetarian for years, but I always still have to really fend for myself. And there's never really any effort made to make. It's just kind of, oh, there's a couple side dishes that don't have meat. And then when I bring all my own food, it feels like I'm kind of intruding on all that to just come in and be like, oh, I'm not going to eat any of your stuff. I'm going to bring all my own. And that's one very specific place where I feel like should I communicate that and be like, look, let's be vegetarian on Christmas. But then I'm like, why do I want anyone to like just, I can do my own thing and no one cares.
I think it's totally reasonable to ask for a vegetarian dish. Not side dishes. but to say, could you include a vegetarian dish for me? Or maybe even taking the extra step to send a recipe and say, hey, would you be able to include this dish for me for Christmas?
But then I just feel like a burden. Like I really do. It feels like I can do that and just, take care of myself. And
this is why people don't express their needs. This is why people don't communicate what they want, because they feel like they're going to be a burden.
Yes.
And the truth is, you are not. And I also think, again, going back to this episode that I did with Dean, talking about being a burden, expressing your needs, asking for help, sharing the things you're struggling with, you're not a burden. It's going to help you to further connect with someone because you're showing up. Like, you're speaking your truth. You're not just pushing everything down. And when you just are like, oh, I can just take care of myself, blah, 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 like, that's moving away from people. When you express your needs to someone, you are opening yourself up. You're being vulnerable, which is a risk. But also, you can be met with connection in that way. And that could be a very, connecting thing for you to say, hey, Mom, this Christmas, can we please include a vegetarian dish, just so that, I can really enjoy it with all of you guys and I don't have to, bring my own stuff and, intrude, say everything that you just said to me. And I can't imagine her saying anything but yeah, of course, hon, or whatever she says to you.
Yeah, she calls
of course, Christopher.
She calls me hon. She does not call me Christopher.
That's what I call you.
Thankfully. Actually, you talk to me more formally than my mother.
Yeah, I do. I do, but I don't think you'd be met with some kind of a rejection. And even if you were in this situation, because obviously there's that chance, I think there's still a way for you to at least walk away saying, well, I made it clear. I expressed that feeling of not feeling like there was necessarily thought for me in this situation. And now, at least, if you do bring your own dish, perhaps you don't feel like you're intruding because now, you put it out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it also feels like it maybe I like to do the internal work of thinking of
I can do it myself.
Well, of why does this trigger me? Why am I giving this extra thought and how can I where you're challenging me is you're saying use it as an opportunity to lean into other people. Mm-hmm. And what I'm doing is using it as saying I can use it as an opportunity to have less needs and to have less attachment to my needs.
We all have needs, and you have needs, and you should acknowledge them.
I do.
Then communicate them.
I don't have to eat though. That's not a real need. I can just starve.
Well, and we've
days.
what was it? This was literally 2 nights ago. You were over and we were making dinner. We made the cauliflower vegan pizza.
Yeah, that was so good. And that was a great idea on my part, not knowing that it was going to take 4 hours to make. So we were like, what should we do? You're like, I got this great cauliflower. It's let's make a pizza. Then I had to go to the store and all this stuff. And it was really good. But
it was super good, but it took a while.
It took a while.
And I was like, yeah, we should catch up on Handmaid's Tale because it's a show that you and I watched together. And I've been wanting to watch it, and I haven't because I've been waiting for us to get together.
You're so sweet.
And you don't have the luxury to do that because you don't have Hulu.
I don't have Hulu. No.
So I was like, okay, great. We're finally together. It's a night. We get to watch it. And I was like, yeah, let's watch it and we can, eat dinner or whatever. And then 10 minutes later, maybe it was an hour. I don't know. But that was the idea. And then you made a comment about, would you rather watch something funnier maybe? Or do you want to watch something that's going to be heavy like that?
Yeah, I did. I didn't even I was just because I think you just said you want to just go ahead and put that on while this is finishing up. And I was like, does that seem a little heavy?
Yeah. And I remember I was like, Kitt, is there something you want to express? I was like, are you asking for something? I was like, would you like to communicate what it is you're actually wanting?
And I did. I said, I need to laugh right now. I was in a very deep emotional place and just needed to laugh. I needed it to be light. I did not need to have this window into a dystopia.
And then what was my response when you communicated? I just need to laugh. Can we watch something a little lighter?
You said, well, you can pack your bags and leave. I'm eating this cauliflower pizza all by myself. I have been waiting for weeks to watch Handmaid's Tale. And if you don't want to watch it with me right now.
Handmaids are the highway.
Then you don't get this dinner. So I think this is your expectation. It was a little extreme. No, you were so kind and said, no, just pick whatever you want.
Yeah.
And we watched some comedy and it was great. Much needed. So
So sometimes when you express your needs, things can turn out for the better because you both can lean towards each other.
True. But there is this element of learning to recognize that in someone else because often it's not that we don't have needs that need to be expressed. It's often that maybe we don't know how to express those needs.
Mm-hmm. And I could tell in that setting, you were in the situation, you were trying to express a need, but would have felt like a burden. And so you weren't fully saying it, but you were just tiptoeing around it. And I was like, hey. Say what you're trying to say.
So there's two sides to that. There's first of like learning to say, what is it that I need to say? And then saying it. And then part of it is learning to hear when other people are trying to express something. This was my intention. Or trying to read between the lines a little bit to help people, like you helped me, to help people express that, to provide space for people to say what their needs are and communicate that without judgment.
Yeah. Without judgment.
Without judgment.
It's a very important piece because a lot of the reason why we don't speak up and are vulnerable is because of a fear of judgment.
Yes. Or someone that just simply listens but does not hear. Hears your words but isn't trying to hear what you're actually saying with your words.
Yeah.
And that can be a problem too with, like, even if I go back to my Christmas dinner scenario, there are times where I felt like I have communicated that. Like, it's not that hard. I've been a vegetarian for a really long time. Where it would almost feel excessive to just be like, hey, guys.
If you didn't know.
And then I just don't want to be that guy. But yeah, I don't know.
But also, like, you are that vegetarian guy.
I am that vegetarian guy.
Like, that is who you are, and that is a need that you have.
But it feels like I may be wrong in this, but what it feels like sometimes is I'm trying to meet in the middle of that and saying I'm not demanding a lot, but that's not necessarily being met in the middle with me. But the good thing is we did go on vacation.
Yes, you did.
And it was actually really, really good because that Christmas particular was really, really hard for our relationship. And I think a lot of it was just things that were left way too long unspoken. But we went on vacation together. We went camping. It was I got to ride my motorcycle along the Oregon coast, which if you ever get to do anything on the Oregon coast, do it, especially if you get to ride a motorcycle. It was stunning and it was beautiful. But they were very conscious, and I was even more conscious that the whole time we were eating out, I was conscious to look at the menu and see if there was a good vegetarian option, and then just say, I don't want to eat here. There's nothing for me to eat. And then they'd be like, oh, well, this is a great seafood restaurant, but let's find somewhere else that has something for you.
They were receptive.
And we were able to then kind of meet in the middle. I'm glad I got to remember this because I know the birthday Christmas was always a little bit of a thing. But, well, I don't want to. Let's not get into that yet. But I do feel like then we did make a little bit of, like, we were both conscious to acknowledge constantly that this is, if we're going to spend time together, this is a thing. This isn't like a little phase that I'm going through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we did.
Very proud of you. And I'm curious to see, steps. I think that's an important trip to think back to and remember as you go into this Christmas.
See little bits of progress of us learning how to just get on the same page.
Because again, that's like a small step that starts happening when you do start communicating your needs. Like, someone may not fully hear, they may not fully understand, but you're at least opening the door to start down that path. You know?
I do. It's an important lesson. But it's also, I'm thankful for people like you that are able to kind of hear when I'm not being direct enough. I was listening to this podcast with this Irish philosopher that I really, really like. And he was talking about this Irish characteristic that he has sometimes where he goes into a house and like if someone says, do you want a drink of water? Do you want a cup of tea? He'll always say no at first, even if he wants one.
Oh, yeah. I think I ended up talking with someone about this in terms of talking about consent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, going back to the Irish philosopher. Let me finish finish this because then what you say will make sense. Because he says he'll always go in, and the first time someone asks him if he wants something, he'll say no, and the second time he'll say no, but the third time he'll say yes. Like he wants to know like they're very genuine with their offer and doesn't want to seem like he's so. So he said he has some friends that'll just be like he'll come over. Do you want a drink of water? Do you want a drink of water? Do you want a drink of water? And just get through all three really quick because they know he's going to say no at first.
Yeah.
And then right after that, I went over to your house and you're like, we recorded a podcast, I think. And then you were like, do you want dinner? And I'm like, nope. And you're like, are you sure? It's pretty good. I'm like, well, maybe. And then you're like, we have extra. It's okay if you stay. And I was like, okay, fine. And I wanted to the whole time.
This is when I was with my parents?
Yeah, with your parents. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I mean, I feel like there were several times like that where I'm like, stay for dinner. And you're like, I don't know. And I'm like, Kitt, just stay. We have extra. Like,
that's the Irish in me. That's just like trying to, I don't know, too hard. So you brought that around.
Yeah. So
consent.
No. Someone else, we were having it was kind of a date, but like I didn't really want it to be a date, but it was a date. But then I was like, I think this is just like a friendly thing. Friend zoned him mentally. Great guy.
Did you communicate that?
Soon.
We're about to find out when.
But we had this conversation about consent, and I think I was talking about the podcast. One of my favorite episodes was how we did the one on consent. And how one of the biggest things that I've learned, like throughout this last relationship, is how I can like be a little pushy and like with what I want and getting what I want. And so like just taking someone's response as their consent and not like pushing that. And that was part of the conversation we were having. And then he brought up how he'll always ask at least twice. And he attributed this to like some of his Southern culture because he's like from Texas. And he said, you know, people will always say no the first time because they're being polite. But then if you ask a second time, that shows like genuine interest, whatever. So he was like, that was kind of his thing, was like, he'll ask twice. And I was like, that's interesting. I mean, when it comes to like sexual things that probably shouldn't apply. But
yeah, like
when it comes to like asking out for dinner.
Consent.
Yeah. Yeah. But there were ways where I was like, I could see where that works. Cause yeah, oftentimes people do want to, you know, be polite. But I think also when you reach a place within yourself where you're very confident and like knowing your needs and being able to communicate them, someone will offer you a glass of water and you can say, yes, I would like that.
Yeah.
And not feel like, oh, I might be a burden to them if I say yes, because then they have to get the glass and then they have to get the water and then I'm taking it from them, and just accept the offering.
And just, I mean, I don't think I go through life with this like over anxious thing. I'm generally like not. I don't think that much of a pushover, but I do notice sometimes those things come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they come out, and that's okay.
But I think it's mostly with people that I'm close with, which is weird. Because mostly, if
like
I just walked into anyone else's house and they like to ask, I would probably be way more specific to be like, well, yes. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
because, I mean, I'm surprised sometimes, too, that, like, with me, when I'm like, yeah, if you want to watch something funny, yeah, just say that. Like, what? Like, yeah, we don't have to watch it. Like, right. Or, like, what do you want for dinner? Like, what do you prefer? And it's like, yeah, no, just tell me what you want to eat, and I'll make it.
That's true. But I do Yeah, I need to recognize that too. I don't know. We're just like friend depisting each other.
Yeah.
No, you're mostly me now. I feel like I'm.
It's okay. We've switched. This is what we do. But I think in big areas of like communicating for what you want, like especially in dating, I'm realizing there are still things I'm figuring out. And so it becomes a lot more difficult to communicate things to people when like you're still figuring out yourself. And I think that's okay, but I am communicating that I am figuring it out.
But we're coming at it from opposite sides because I come from a kind of personality-wise lost in a big family, and you come from being an only child where you're like, that's what I want.
Yep.
And so you've got to like nuance that in a way that like, and I've got to actually like nuance it as well, but from totally different places. Oh, that's fun. You're great.
You're great too. Love you. Glad you're in my life.
It's going to be hard to kick me out if you keep making pizzas like that.
It's going to be hard for you to get away because you can't.
Oh. Why are there people coming in behind me?
No, like enthusiastic consent. I want you to be here if you want to be here.
Just ask 3 times.
Do you want to be here? Do you want to be here? Do you want to be here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There we go. Love that we can joke about this stuff, but also it is not a joke. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah, no, I think like it's really important to like one thing I'll do to figure out like what it is that my needs actually are, like talking with friends about it, journaling, therapy. I think there are a lot of different ways that we can express ourselves to get to the bottom of what it is that we need and that we want to communicate before taking that step to be like, I'm going to word vomit everything and I'm really nervous and I don't know what I'm going to say. So I'm super scared. So I'm just going to suppress it and not say anything at all. I think there are several different steps that we can all take to reach that place. And I listed a few. Can you think of others like for you?
Oh, now I'm distracted with something else. I want to ask you a question. What about a situation where you want to communicate something to someone, but they aren't giving you any space for that at all?
You're just asking a question to yourself again.
Why? What? Not asking? No, I'm asking to you.
No, earlier on you asked a question, and it was about like the birthday thing, and I was like, "Kid, this is you."
Oh,
asking
I'm like
the question.
Well, yes, it's about me.
Yes,
and it's about
a current situation you're in where there's a need you want to express to someone, but they're not allowing the space for you to communicate that need.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's not even about nuancing it. It's about even having the space at all.
Yes. And sometimes that space isn't there. So I think when the space is not there for you to communicate a need to someone, that means that person is not going to be able to meet your need. So not being able to communicate it directly to that person then means we have to find other outlets to process and to express that need. Right. And also then finding ways that in this certain situation and in some situations, this need will only be able to be met specifically by a specific person because it's a very specific thing. However, in other situations, I think like there are ways that you can get needs met by other people if that specific person is not able to allow the space for that.
Yeah, finding other outlets for people that for situations where an expectation that you have isn't being able to be met by the thing that you think should be meeting that expectation.
I think for you in your setting, in your situation, where like, you know, it's difficult for you because this person is not allowing the space for you to communicate your need. Once you've acknowledged your need, finding ways to express it in yoga, finding ways to express it. Maybe it's a song and that provides you some closure because kind of going back to like our breakup episodes, you can't always handle how someone's going to, handle the relationship. And so sometimes you have to kind of find that within yourself on your own and with your support group. And so whether it's through, you know, talking it out with friends, even if it's a little bit longer, you know, because that stuff's going to come in waves and that's okay. But, you know, you have yoga, like you have writing, you know.
Yeah. And I have been doing that and that's helped a lot. And that's been a good thing.
Yeah, and I think like allowing space for that, like you had your bathtub time, like bathtub time is great. I think that like can be a very good place where like you're not on your phone, you're not like distracted by other things.
When
and
you
can
say
just
bathtub time makes it seem there's a lot of things that could be happening. Yep, that's where I make my meth, is what she's saying. I got a little bit of a problem.
People make meth in a bathtub?
I don't even know.
Where did that come from? Oh, the salts maybe? No, okay.
I don't know. I don't know how drugs
We're getting derailed in all kinds of ways.
No, the appropriate self-care, figuring out how to not, I think the biggest thing for me is figuring out how to not repress any of my reactions to things but channel them into other things. But yeah, you're right. Some people just don't give you space and we have to release them of that expectation.
Forgiveness. That episode I did with Olivia, forgiveness is super, super important. And I think is very connected to this conversation of being able to communicate your needs and your expectations. And I hope that you guys are able to take away several things from this episode about your needs, communicating them, expectations, and of course also forgiveness of all of those things. Both within yourself for having like high expectations maybe, or for having unrealistic expectations or not having communicated them and assuming something. But I think what's really important to remember is at the end of the day, you just got to say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
And we didn't even really get into how our expectations of other people are so directly linked to the expectations that we have on ourselves.
Ding, 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 ding.
So after all of that, blah, 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 any expectation you're holding on and giving to someone else is just something, it's a way that you can use to look into yourself. And that's important.
So much wisdom.
But not so much that it keeps us from leaning into the other person. Notice that it's a reflection of ourselves. I like to notice, this is something that I can work on in me. And not always take that next step and say, this is how I communicate that more effectively. I sometimes only do halfway. So
don't do anything half-assed. Do it with your full ass.
Do it with my full ass.
It's so wonderful to have you back with me. Thanks for coming on this episode with me and talking more about it. We could probably talk about this for like 2 more hours, but gotta wrap it up.
We'll do it another time.
Yes, we will be back with more wonderful topics and episodes. And you guys can leave us reviews on iTunes and let us know what you're liking about the pod. And you can also send us topic suggestions of things you want us to talk about to ask.letstalkaboutit@gmail.com. And we look forward to chatting with you guys next week.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.